Off-Grid News welcomes you to the news that's not fit to print. I'm Rob. I identify as two wild and crazy guys. My pronouns are Steve Martin and Dan Aykroyd. The witness of the CDC lab, a monkey's crash, has developed symptoms. Michelle Palin is living a nightmare after a truck crashed in Pennsylvania carrying 100 monkeys from an island off Africa's coast. Fallon is now experiencing symptoms believed to be related to the close contact with the monkeys. The next day, she developed a cough and something resembling pink eye. They then rushed her to the emergency room where infectious disease doctors treated her with the first of 4 rabies shots and prescriptions to treat shingles, cold sores, and herpes. It also can treat chicken pox. All this time, and we thought Bill Gates was responsible for spreading the virus. But we may have just discovered the real culprit. The CDC is spreading the diseases. Arnold Schwarzenegger, who preaches how important it is to drive small vehicles to minimize greenhouse gases, was driving the largest vehicle produced, a GMC Yukon. Its average gas mileage is 10 gallons per mile, when he ran over a Toyota Prius, which is the second smallest car made, during a 4-car pilot. After the accident, Arnold said, "I'll be back." A new study shows adverse reactions to the vaccine is due to a condition called a Nocebo effect. This means that anyone showing side effects to the vaccine is not actually having side effects. The symptoms are made up in your head. If you're having a heart attack, blood clots, or death, it's because your brain was faking it. A subvariant of Omicron has finally reached the shores of the U.S. Washington State has identified 2 cases. This mutation lasts longer and kills faster. The CDC, Dr. Fauci, and Pfizer gave a joint statement. "We're excited to see the subvariant finally reaching the shores of the U.S. This just proves that there's much more money to be made from the virus." CNN's Brian Stelter reports, "I regret to inform you, the Biden administration is withdrawing its virus vaccination and testing regulations amid a large businesses following those meany conservative Supreme Court justices' decision to block the rule earlier this month." Former Alaska Governor Sarah Palin dined at a New York City restaurant 2 days before she tested positive for the virus. In the crime of the century, Palin sat down to eat. The restaurant owner apologized for not checking her vaccine passport. Palin has not been vaccinated and has stated so in dozens of interviews. Yet of all of New York City is in complete shock over this terrifying revelation, leaving one Missourian man to say, "Governor, I invite you to Missouri. I will treat you a great meal, and I promise I won't stare at your eyes too long." A shock to everyone in the intelligence community after the Department of Homeland Security warns of a Russia cyber attack on U.S. if it responds to Ukraine invasion. The head of the CIA said, "This is a stunning revelation because Biden gave Russia a list of infrastructure companies it is not allowed to attack last year. Why would our biggest enemy decide to ignore that warning?" Brainiacs, I tell you, how do these people function? I tell you how to win a war. Bomb Anheuser-Busch in St. Louis, Missouri, and tell them Russia did it. You'll have every redneck in their John boats and AR-15s heading to Russia. It would be a bloodbath. A Florida man went to work as a nurse and fully vaccinated. A co-worker told him he didn't look well, so he got the virus test. 12 hours after the positive diagnosis, he died from heart failure. Something just seems wrong with this. How did a man die of the virus if he had a heart failure? And how did he go from feeling fine to dead in 12 hours from the virus? Just seems like a lot of people are dying of heart attacks here lately. Dr. Fauci just acquired a new piece of technology that will help greatly improve his recommendations on mandates for masks and vaccines, and what type of protection you will need. The game show Wheel of Fortune donated its old wheel and renamed every wedge to a scientific specific recommendation. Fauci said, "I will spin the wheel each day, and whatever it lands on will be my recommendation for the day." Babylon Bee reports Biden administration mounts a daring mission to evacuate Hunter Biden's remaining cash from the Ukraine. 4 Navy SEAL members walked into the Hunter's bank and asked to close the account. Security cameras show the whole daring mission as the 4 SEALs calmly walked in, closed the account, and walked out. No service members were injured during this daring operation. Babylon Bee reports that Ukraine invites Kyle Rittenhouse to guard their border against invading Russia forces. Upon word of Kyle standing at the border, both Ukraine and Russian troops retreated. It was an amazing sight to see, said one Ukrainian soldier. He walked right up to the border, stood at attention with his illegally owned AR-15, and Russian tanks turned around and drove off. Unfortunately, we had to arrest Mr. Rittenhouse for crossing Ukraine borders with a scary-looking weapon of war, said the president of Ukraine. Nancy Pelosi was asked if she believed we needed to enter World War III with Russia over Ukraine. I believe we should defend Ukraine's sovereignty, as it could hurt me. I mean, the U.S. financially, if we don't. Well, ain't it lucky we got Biden for president for this war? I mean, really. Don't think Trump would even have cared about Ukraine. Biden said if Russia cuts off supply of natural gases to Europe, that we will divert the U.S. supply to Europe so they will have enough to get through the winter and spring. Wait a minute. You're telling me that Biden wants to start a war with Russia, give away our gas, and we have to pay for it? Unbelievable. DHS warns electrical infrastructure an attractive target for domestic terrorists. This is just great. We're about to go into World War III, and DHS is still worried about a bunch of 70-year-old white men in wheelchairs. Am I the only one that is confused by the excitement and cavalier attitude the government is taking about World War III? CNN's chief media correspondent Brian Stelter blasted Fox News for broadcasting an alleged incendiary phrase that he said CNN would never repeat on air. Unfortunately, his colleague Anderson Cooper used the exact terminology just a few days earlier, and has been used at least a half a dozen times, and previously the way Brian Stelter called it unacceptable. Fox News has posted on the screen banner during the week, "The Biden administration is a clown car driving off a cliff." That's a great example of incendiary rhetoric that you would never have seen, let's say from another channel, during the Trump years, or now during the Biden years. Such language illustrates the imagined drama that Fox presents every day in its Fox viewers. What's a Fox viewers? A British study suggests drinking 14 glasses of wine per week lowers risk of testing positive for the virus by 10 to 17%. What is it with these brainiacs? Did they ever stop to think maybe it's the grapes that makes the wine? Hey, I got an idea. Let's see if getting drunk prevents the virus. Woo! Maybe study kids who drink grape juice. Duh. After months of speculation that Nancy Pelosi was not going to seek re-election and retire in her new home in Florida, Pelosi announced yesterday that she is seeking a bid for re-election. With the economy the way it is right now, I need to continue to get confidential briefings of stocks so I can continue to make millions of dollars in the stock market. Nancy Pelosi has directed the Biden administration to secure the border. In a letter delivered to the president, she instructed him to send troops to the border of Ukraine in order for me to continue to make millions from illegal business dealings with Ukraine. We have to ensure Russia does not invade it. A new study shows that 50% of the unvaccinated have a low education with a high school degree or less. This proves that the unvaccinated do not have the ability to make wise decisions about their health. Now wait one gosh darn minute. How many people have been vaccinated that have a high school degree or less? Also, this doesn't prove anything. Literally, the other half of the unvaccinated have higher education or more. Flip a penny 100 times and you'll get 50 heads and 50 tails. Babylon Bee reports as tensions between U.S. and Russia increase over Ukraine, Biden places 8,500 troops on high alert in case Peter Doocy retaliates for Biden calling him a stupid SOB. While AOC was visiting Florida, she said Republican men are sexually frustrated and wanted to date her. After Joe Biden called Peter Doocy a stupid SOB, Doocy said Joe Biden's frustrated and wanted to date him. After Biden removed Americans from the Ukraine embassy, the Ukraine president fired back at Biden by saying Americans are safer in Kiev than in crime-ridden U.S. cities. Well, that's probably true. I would have to agree with that, said one Ozark, Missouri resident visiting St. Louis. Dr. Fauci said, the wheel of science today said vaccines are not the entire solution to beating the virus. You must be tested regularly, wear the N95 mask, be up to date with vaccines. You know he's making millions from the manufacturers of all this. Even though research shows being infected with the Omicron variant will give you super immunity, the new Omicron subvariant will be more contagious than the original Omicron and will most likely be more deadly, the WHO said. When are these people going to realize we stopped believing them months ago when they said the vaccine will prevent the spread to it will reduce your symptoms? And Fauci has the nerves to call other people morons? I guess that's what I get for having a high school degree or less. CNN's Brian Stelter said, Joe Biden was not, as some have suggested, caught by surprise on a hot mic when he called Fox News White House correspondent Peter Doocy a stupid SOB. Biden first responded sarcastically before turning on Doocy, directly adding, what a stupid SOB. Certainly you can see him smile on Biden's face. I don't think he's surprised this was caught on mic. I think he knows what he's doing. A new study shows there has been an increase of heart failure and strokes since the onset of the virus. Researchers have identified the highest numbers of heart attacks and strokes since 2013. Scientists have concluded that the number of spikes because people are stressed from their family members dying from the virus. This is just a natural side effect of the pandemic, said one scientist. The study reminds that you must get vaccinated to reduce stress on your family. Yep, my high school degree or less would have never considered that. Red wine and the vaccine causes less stress on my family. Many investors fear a recession as the stock market plunges. Better watch it. People are going to have heart attacks and strokes from the stock market, and they'll be saying it's loss of family members from the virus. But what do I know? I only have a high school degree or less. A man had to wait an hour for an ambulance even though he lived 3 minutes away from the hospital. The fully vaccinated man tested positive for the virus, was quarantined at home. After showing symptoms of the heart attack, when he had shortness of breath, pain in the left arm, and grabbing his chest, he died from the virus because the ambulance took so long to get to him. Yep, my high school degree just can't explain all this. The White House was excited to report that Russia declined a diplomatic solution sent to Putin in a letter. White House said, this puts us one step closer to war. We had no expectations that Putin would accept our demands that he hand his country over to Ukraine, so Ukraine could hand over oil profits to Hunter Biden. This will be a great exercise for our young men and women in the military to learn what a real war is. We are showing the world leadership how to pick a fight for no apparent reason. As the U.S. continues to warn that the threat of Russia attack on Ukraine remains imminent, Ukraine president says he doesn't see a risk and urges calm. Biden responded by saying, that stupid SOB. U.S. has shared 400 million vaccine doses globally, White House says. Oh, goody. I was worried we weren't giving taxpayer money away anymore. I'm glad nothing's changed. Newsweek reports that Russia just laid the trap to start Ukraine war. U.S. saw the trap, grabbed it, hook, line, and sinker without hesitation. Woohoo! We're going to war! Woohoo! We're going to war! The White House said. Mel Gibson's health update after battling the virus. Yeah, it's been a long, tough battle with all the projects I've got going on right now, he said. I'm not raising a sweat. I just figured out how to do it. Do it and relax. Life is too short to get panicked about anything. The reporter pressed him about his battle with the virus, and Mel Gibson said, oh, yeah, that. Yeah, I didn't even notice. The reporter then asked, how long did he quarantine? Gibson said, and dying in your beds many years from now, would you be willing to trade all the days from this day to that for one chance, just one chance, to come back here and tell our enemies that they may take our lives, but they will never take our freedom? So that's all your news that's not fit to print. Please share this with your friends on other social media sites. It's a really big help. Click subscribe to get future updates. Thanks for watching.